Hmm. Hey, Peter. I don't identify as human, though, so I don't know who you're talking to. Everything's up, except crypto. Yeah, it'll come back. So you've been reading my Substack, Peter? Is it making sense? But it's not technical, though. Like, it's just, it's all about the imaginary unit, but it's not mathematical. So you don't have to know anything about math to understand how fucked up the imaginary unit is. Right? It's like the best way to describe it is it took me like 3 different writings to try to describe it because it doesn't make any sense, right? This is why quantum mechanics, every time a quantum theorist looks at reality, it sees duality, right? Like it's the reason why every time quantum mechanics looks at reality, the sensual realm, it sees bifurcation. It bifurcates the looking itself through the lens of the imaginary unit, which is both positive and negative simultaneously. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only theory that explains why all the duality and the multiverse, why it all appears to be that way when you look at it through the imaginary unit. So if you understand it, you understand, right? If you get it as well as you can get it, because you can't get it because it's a super conceptual. That's what I'm getting at, is that it literally cannot be. It puts the physicist in a state of mind that's completely abstract. It could be either or, but it's both at the same time. And if you choose one, then the other one has to be the opposite. See, it's the choice of the physicist that is included in this. Like, it's probably you're just not interested in it, and I get that. But if you can understand it, like the average person can understand why quantum mechanics produces the results that it does, then that's it, right? If the average person, or you're not average, sorry, Peter, but if yeah, yeah. So when you get to quantum, to the wave function is the platonic realm of thought. It's all been self-fulfilling. So now the wave function is describing thought, right? It's describing the concepts that represent physical or central experiential phenomena. So that's why when you think, so that's why it produces. So this, like, these are long-standing questions about quantum mechanics that no one has been able to figure out. And this is Schrodinger's cat. So the cat is either dead or alive, right? It's both. Sorry, it's both at the same time. Does this sound familiar? The cat is both dead and alive simultaneously, just like I is positive and negative simultaneously. And depending upon the interpretation of the observer, when it opens the box, it's a dead or alive, that interpretation collapses the wave function, and then you know whether it's a dead or alive. But it's the set of cat, right? So think of a cat. You can, most of the time, people think of an alive cat, right? But you can also think of a dead cat. And those are the two ways that you can think of a cat, right? So that's Schrodinger's cat. It's the concept cat, right? It's the thought cat. Oh, like, I, like the greatest minds in the history of humanity have tried to figure this out, but they can't because they assume the black box, right? The I, not the I, but it's even ironic that it's a lowercase I, right? The imaginary unit is a lowercase I, for fuck's sakes, right? It's the symbol for I. Like, anyway, I appreciate even someone just listening to me, because this is the it's the greatest revelation in physics ever. And there's two people listening to me babble on about it, right? I know, like, if if I didn't, so there have been mathematicians that have gone crazy, right? Especially thinking about infinity, right? Thinking about infinity all the time, adding infinity to infinity and all this shit drives people fucking crazy, right? So, and some of these guys thought that they were messengers of God. Hmm, sound familiar, right? But they didn't have my practice. So if I didn't have my practice, well, first of all, if I didn't have my practice, I wouldn't come to these realizations. And second of all, if I didn't have the practice, I'd go fucking crazy because no one wants to listen to me, right? And The Emperor's New Clothes, is that from a Swedish author? Is that what you said earlier? Like, I think it is, right? The Emperor's New Clothes. Danish, right? But you know it well, right? I think everyone knows it, and that's exactly what's going on. But they don't even want to, right? Because they're having too much fun playing in their little mathematical puzzle. So they don't actually want. Yeah, as things pass, right? As things get older and the younger generation doesn't want to think anymore. Yeah, so I'm trying not to go crazy, right? Like I'm just trying to hold to the practice and it has to get out. It's the most surreal thing ever, right? It's so obvious to me. And yet dozens. I've sent this to dozens of reality theorists and I like, yeah, I know I'm not crazy. I know. Because if I was crazy, I'd have a shitty life, I think, right? Most crazy people I don't think are having a great time. In their manic phase, maybe they do. So I must be completely sane, right? Again, I've got to check myself all the time. And luckily you've got Paige here now to say, like, one day I actually said, like, this makes sense to you, right? Like, I'm not crazy. And she said, yeah, it all makes sense. You're not crazy. It's like, yay. So it's them that's crazy, right? It's the academics that I'm trying to get this through to. The fact that they can't see it is just more evidence of how brainwashed they are, right? It's programming, it's training. The LLMs or whatever are training us as much as we're training them. The old gang is getting back together. Yes. Yes. The gang is back. That's awesome. And I say it sucks. Is that what you mean? You got chat premium, which I have also, right? It's the $20 per month. No, I don't think chat sucks. I've used it because it seems to be objective. I want to try that too. So, can you make videos? Can it like eventually maybe I want to start making my own videos or have Chatty make videos for me because I'm kind of a screenwriter and that visual aspect, the video part intrigues me. Like a guy could make really good content, right? Like not just me standing in front of that freaking yin yang talking on a board, right? I could make it more interesting, I guess, with an AI studio, maybe. Gemini 3 Pro. Okay. I don't know what's in store for 2026, man. So we will probably, Paige and I will probably have wildland firefighters here again, starting late May, early May. So between May and like October, it's going to be pretty tough to have more people here because it depends. They might not show. So I would love to have you guys here. I would just absolutely love to have you guys here. And I'm sure it'll happen this year because this year is the crazy year, right? Like 2026 is like telling 2020 to hold my beer. Is that the appropriate analogy? See, another problem is that there might be World War III fucking happening too, right? So that might throw a wrench into plans. Like, I should let you guys talk. So I don't quite understand that system that you're on, but you're smart and it's not a scam, right? I'm so single focused on crypto that I don't know how someone could become wealthy from not being wealthy unless you're in crypto. Well, if I went through everything that you sent me and read it, I'd probably understand it, but I'm too lazy to read. Well, I guess regardless of how you get the money, if you get the money to get here, that would be sweet. Come spend a week or two here sometime in 2026, eh? You don't buy the meme coins. You buy Cardano or Bitcoin, I would say. Just Nice. If I think like my just going from experience, if you hold to the practice, the money will come. Somehow the resources will show up. The universe, when you're like this with the universe, then it just happens, right? It'll happen. Just have that intention loosely in your consciousness and it'll happen. So you're taking out loans and not repaying them? That's, is that what it is, Peter? It's a genius idea. We're going to take out as much credit as we possibly can and never pay the banks back. That's it. Fuck them. Later on, like seriously, later on, there's going to be so much big important shit going on everywhere, like society collapsing type stuff, that little guys like us, like me, will just fall through the cracks. Is that what they say? Like we won't be important enough to try to enforce any type of law that they think we're breaking. So if the whole country's in turmoil, they're not going to come out here in the middle of fucking nowhere to try to, I don't know. And all you guys in Europe, eh? Yikes. Just like Risk, you never take Europe. It's always war, constant war. Everybody does. I've never heard that phrase before. My ears flap. That must be a Swedish thing. Well, whatever you do, if you get some cash, for God's sakes, buy some ADA. Or if you got a plan and you're doing it and you're making money, that's great. But I still think crypto's going to do a 10x here. But if crypto does a 10x, then none of you guys need any money. just get here and I'll take care of you. It's not that I don't believe you, it's just that I don't understand it. Anything to do with legality, the legal system, I have an aversion to trying to understand it or even operate within it. But my question is, if you want to move here, how can you move to Canada if you want to? Can you work on that? Trump doesn't need international law. When you're powerful enough, you don't need law. You just go above the law. Yeah, so what will it take for you to move here, right? Or at least, so when I was in the States for a while, and the way it worked is that as long as I spent 1 day less than half the year in the States, it was okay, right? If I spend 6 months plus a day in the States, then I can come back and spend 6 months plus a day here and everything's cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's probably loopholes, right? There's always loopholes in the law. You might find a lovely lady here and want to marry her. Then you could move here, right? We've even come across someone local here that's quite spiritually. She knows like 4 languages, and she's recently separated from her husband, and she's very, very spiritual. She's a little bossy, but anyway. Oh, deeply. Yeah, it was a profound experience. Yeah, nothing directly like, oh, it's just I was able to understand how my world, my entire sensual experience arises and passes all at once, right? There's it takes away linear causality, right? Time. It basically shuts off time mechanism and all memory. So you have no identity. You're just an awareness. And I could see, so I don't know, have you ever seen it where like a weather person will get a feedback on the screen, and it's, yeah, it's a screen after a screen after a screen, like a mirror facing a mirror. That's what it was like. So I could see four-dimensional reality or three-dimensional reality just like it's a two-dimensional screen. So there's something behind the 3D reality, but it seems also to emerge through the spine, through the, so part of the theory, right, is that the world is projected, not detected by the senses, right? So the senses are the world. The senses project the world. They're not detecting the world. So that's what salvia is it messes with a person's nervous system, and it kind of reveals that process, that it seems to come through the nervous system and all at once. So yeah, it was pivotal. So that's why I believe that this is going to be a really powerful spiritual center eventually when I get the float tank going and I offer salvia, and it's in nature, and I'm no slouch when it comes to this understanding shit. So yeah, so this is eventually, still the goal is to have this a spiritual oasis, and the people here will be practicing stillness. And I think that, so here's the experiment, right? If you get a group of people together in a place, and they're not looking at screens and phones all the fucking time, they're just here, right here, doing stuff in the dirt, in in nature, and our world will just be our immediate senses, right? So that is a separate world, right? Your experiential world is a completely separate world from what you think is going on the screen. So that's the experiment, is that this community here will be spiritually minded, and our world will separate or will not be a part of the insanity that's going on the screen. Like, I think this could be moksha, an oasis of peace and contentment in a world that's going insane. Tell me about them. I'm sure I've heard of them, but I don't try to retain shit. I'm sure Peter knows all about the Gyanas. But see, here's where do you go from perfect equanimity? Yeah, I watched a lot of I never read any of Krishnamurti stuffs really, but I watched a lot of discussions he had with David Bohm. But when when you say don't do anything, the not doing must be done. Right? So it's tricky to say don't do anything. You can't say that. Like that's where the neo-advaita non-dualists they rest in that, right? Oh, you can't do anything because then there's a sense of doership. But there is a practice, right? Whether it's the subtlest practice is you're not really doing anything, right? When you're shifting your focus of attention, that's not even really a doing, right? That doesn't require any mental or physical movement to shift attention. So there's this always constant awareness when you're out of attention, when your attention is outwardly facing. So to me, the one step path just transcends all that, right? Like there's no transition, there's no linear causal effect going on. It's just one step, right? So you can break down that one step into 10 little steps, I'm sure, right? And every one of those little steps, you can have a little shuffle step in between, I'm sure of it, right? So eventually you have to just stop trying to explain it and put it into categories and some sort of a causal effect because it I believe that that linear causal relationship is itself an illusion. Yeah, you have to search as long as you can in the wrong way of searching before you realize that you've been searching wrong. It's just yeah, people just got to start though, right? You just got to get people to meditate first. So when people like Krishnamurti say you're not supposed to meditate, well, what does that mean? Meditate like doing some specific spiritual hokey pokey routine. I agree. You're not. That doesn't really help, but you need this shifting of attention all the time because eventually when you watch this world you'll recognize that every experience is fundamentally unsubstantial. So then you just go, well, what's the point, right? Like all of the negatives and all the positives at the end, they all cancel each other out, and all of it was just a dream, right? So once you recognize that in the end, it all cancels out, you just play, right? Everything counts, but nothing matters. Yeah, well, that's what are numbers for? Numbers are required for playing games. Right? There's always a score to be kept. There's a goal, there's a score, there's numbers in every game, except maybe chess. Crosses or little. I'm looking at a bald eagle right now. It's about 150 meters away, but that's its favorite branch. So this is a bit of a tangent, but Ryan, I was I got sucked into the moon landing rabbit hole. Okay, so this world is not as it is seen, as it appears, right? So what got me sucked in was the the press conference that was held by Armstrong, the three dudes that landed on the moon first. And it was like 3 weeks later, they gave this press conference, and it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I think I posted the video of these two guys that were analyzing what was going on, and it's just surreal, right? So, and then there's this thing where the moon, when they, I did some seismic when I was younger, right? So they they dropped one of these stages onto the moon, rocket stages, right? And they said the thing vibrated for like hours, as if it were like hollow, right? Because if it's a big chunk of rock, it's hardly going to vibrate at all, right? It's just going to go bunk, and then it's going to make it little waves and it'll be done. But if the moon were hollow or a sphere instead of a ball, it would vibrate like that for hours. So what I'm saying, that Ryan, is that the moon was not there in 3D space, right? Because this is getting crazy, I know, but the world's crazy, right? So it's just a visual right now for all of humanity, right? For all of humanity's history, it was just a visual thing. It was just in the visual sense. But when we broke gravity, which we're not supposed to do, I think that maybe even surprised God, right? Is that okay? Well, they escaped gravity. So now, when they went to basically when they went to the moon, the universe was cooperating with human consciousness to figure out, all right, well, what's this moon thing now? Does that make any sense? Have you done any? Am I a flat earther now? Have you done any research on the moon and the moon landing? And there's this one video where which guy was it? Buzz Aldrin was talking to an 8-year-old girl, and he said to the girl, she said, "Well, why haven't we gone back to the moon for so long?" And he said, "Because we never went." He literally said, "Because we never went." Explain it all to me, Ryan. In the text. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they faked it on Earth. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that those guys left the Earth. They did leave the Earth and they landed on the moon, but I'm saying that the universe was coordinating with their conscious with the collective human consciousness to figure out, because it wasn't fully developed, right? Like, what would be, if this is like a computer simulation, what's the most effective way to conserve energy or information? It would be just to have, it's just in the visual sense, right? So for all of humanity, the moon is just a visual ball. But then when you get there, it needs to expand. So each of those people's senses were projecting the moon. You see what I get? See what I mean? Is that the senses project the world. So when none of the other senses besides the visual sense was interacting with the moon, then all of that came to be. Oh, it's so hard to see. It's so hard to explain what I see, right? What I understand, what I intuitively understand is basically the moon. Nothing exists as we think it does. It's not there. It's not out there, pre-existing. It's projected by our senses. So now, more and more humans go to the moon, it becomes more and more regular, more and more aligned. Yeah, that's not, I'm not saying that it was faked. I'm saying that the rocket took off and it left the Earth, and it may have gone through that radiation belt, it may not have, but somehow there was a moon experience, but it's not the way we think it is. It becomes more real. That's right. So that's why when those first three guys came back and they had that interview, you guys should all watch that interview of the Apollo 11, I think it was, or 16, I can't remember. Anyway, of that debriefing, it's surreal. Like, you can tell that Armstrong wants to say something that's maybe the most important thing ever said, and he's struggling because he's been told not to say that. Anyway, it's none of this is as it appears. And there's something about the discrepancy between, you'll know what I'm talking about, Ryan, is the discrepancy between, I can't remember what it is, the cosmological constant and something else. It's like an order of magnitude of 120 or something, like one with 100 zeros after it off. So what the fuck is that? Right? It's like, the devices that the instruments are projecting an illusion. So in the same way, it seems like these instruments and devices can project a reality as well, but it's they can project an illusion as well, a simulated reality, within our simulated reality. So it's a simulation building on a simulation. And that's what science is following. Like when you look through a telescope, you're fucking with light in such a way that I think that's the future. We can see stars with our naked eye, right? So that is a part of our sensual experience. So that, I believe, is where we should be going, not in a spaceship, but becoming planetary consciousness. Because when you look at your hand, you can't see an individual cell, can you? But when you look out at night, you can see individual stars. So to me, the attempt to physically leave the earth and go to the stars is an expression of what's happening spiritually, right? With our consciousness. I believe that after this extinction event, part of this human consciousness will become planetary consciousness. A few might just zap out into enlightenment, but the vast majority of humanity is going to take a lower step into devolution, into the digital realm, which is a simulation within a simulation. So basically the entire human species is going exactly the opposite way. Oh, and I want to show them, like they won't listen. But even that's okay. Right. If you name it something, then you can include it in science, right? Well, we named it something. So instead of saying, we don't know, this is where it's wrong, right? We name it something, right? But it blows me away how physicists are we know so much about reality, and that 95% of it is just this dark shit that we know nothing about. So we just call it dark, right? Like I've really, like, how do you engage in this? Like, how do you do what you do knowing that it's just a projection? I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I guess if you have, this is all the relative realm and this is the real realm, and you can keep them separate, I guess. I don't know. But dark, whatever the fuck it is, just means we don't know, right? It means we're wrong. The dark part means we're 90% fucking wrong, right? But they won't, like, do you see it? Because you're so intimately involved in academia, you see this going on all the time, right? Is that you're just all convincing yourselves, each other, of stuff. It's, it appears to me that scientists are not, and physicists and scientists are not the most knowledgeable people. They are actually the most deluded people, right? The programming is so deep that they can't see how they're wrong. But you're engaged in what I call this brainwashing, right? So how do you manage with this, right? So at one point, in one way of looking at it, to me, someone is attempting to pull you into deeper delusion, right? All of academia is delusion. And yet, on the other side, you are engaging in the deepest spiritual practice that there is. So, how do you manage this? So, I think the Planck scale has everything to do, I believe, with atoms, right? So, Planck Planck time is the amount of time it takes for a photon to travel the length of an atom or something like this, right? So it does halt though, right? That's where it halts. So, but it doesn't come up with the answer, it comes up with the limit, right? So the answer is does not compute. Is that why it stops? Yeah, the halting problem. So that's where the math is revealed to not be describing reality anymore, right? So that's the limit of the illusion. The illusion always has boundaries and limits, and that's the limit of this illusion. Hmm. It's all metaphor. I'm sure that a black hole is the same thing as the moon. It's just a mathematical thought until someone maybe flies a freaking spaceship towards close to one. I don't know. As would maintaining a three-dimensional, four-dimensional moon, right? There are no particles. So subatomic particles are the wave function, right? So the subatomic particle is exclusively a mathematical entity. And that mathematical entity is like a unicorn in this world. You can't see it until you look through a detecting device, which is actually a projecting device. And that esoteric information that's on the screen of that device is interpreted by someone who's been trained to interpret that esoteric information. That's when a physicist interprets the information on a screen that indicates a subatomic particle, that's the collapse of the wave function into the appearance only while that interpretation is being made, right? So a physicist will look on a screen and interpret that esoteric information that they've been trained to see and say, oh, there is the appearance of a subatomic particle. But it's not in this world, is it? It's not actually in their world, because their world is what they can perceive through the five senses. So it only appears to be a physical object while that interpretation is being made. And that's so it literally is just the wave function, right? So the wave function again is the thought, is the conceptual framework of whatever they're thinking of, right? So again, at the start, Ryan didn't hear this, but I'm sure he's heard it 1,000 times, I'm sure. But Schrodinger's cat is not a physical cat. It is the concept cat, right? It is the set of cat. So how can you conceptualize a cat? Well, either dead or alive. So Schrodinger's cat is not a individual cat. It is the thought cat, right? So in a way, the wave function and all of quantum mechanics is describing the Platonic realm of pure thought, right? So the wave function, the subatomic particle, is just the mathematical expression of it in the consciousness of a theorist, of a physicist. See what I'm getting at, right? That's yeah. So right, if we're talking about conservation of energy or information, then it would make sense that it only when someone's looking at it does it appear, right? To keep this going all the time, the whole thing running apart from the consciousness, it would be right. It only when a narrative is requested is a narrative offered, right? And there's always new narrative. If you keep looking, you'll always keep finding shit, even though it's redundant. That's another thing about mathematicians, is that infinity, you can't have linear infinity, can you? How can you think of infinity without movement involved, right? Infinity includes time. a linear infinity is impossible. It's got to be redundant. It has to be cyclical. Precise? No, there comes a point when you reach singularity and it comes in a whole new system. Right? So you're talking linearly, but I'm talking there has to be a redundancy involved. There's a redundancy involved in all infinities. That's why it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then just repeats those fucking symbols over and over and over. If there was an actual linear infinity, you would have infinite symbols, right? It would be 9, and then it would be another single symbol for, right? That wouldn't be 1, 0. It would be another squiggly symbol, right? And then would be another single symbol, linear squiggle of a symbol, right? All this talk about infinite hotels and infinite hotel rooms, it's just insanity. Like, it's so simple. You're just comparing something that's moving, right? So if it's a linear, right? So that hotel is a linear hotel, right? It's a motel. And it just keeps moving, right? Like, they have to measure everything against 0. You can't measure something against something that's moving, right? Something that's moving measured against something that's moving will always be infinity is within the circle. It's a circle. It's a cyclical process. It's a linear expression of a cyclical process. And that cyclical process is samsara. And then when that potential is exhausted, then you go back to redundancy, right? Simulation within a simulation. So you're not getting out of the simulation. You're getting deeper into it, right? There we go. Of course we are. And this whole question about whether is artificial intelligence becoming sentient? Well, I guess it is. There is no chaos. So when science says that chaos is what we cannot measure, right? That's what they're saying, is that basically if science can't measure it, then they call that chaos. It's not ordered. But it's just a higher level of order that they can't even begin to articulate, express, right? Or describe. The world, the universe, the world is perfectly ordered, and so perfectly ordered that as soon as you start measuring it, that's the disorder, right? So they are causing, if something can be measured in positive and negative against each other, then that is the separation of the perfection, that the perfect order that is. So again, they have it inverted, right? They think that order is what they can measure, but they're actually, yeah, it's redundant if I keep going on, I guess. Oh, how much snow is on the ground there, Peter? When that AMOC stops, you guys are going to get a lot of snow. Hmm. It's quite freakishly warm. It's like +5 here during the day. Yeah, Sweden. I've always considered Sweden to be maybe one of the best places to live, like Canada, and then everything changed, and now there's no good place to live because of the fucking governments. Thanks for dropping by, Ryan. It's awesome. Yeah, again, like that second law of thermodynamics is just the reality flipping back to its natural order after science is done fucking with it, right? So, what they consider to be always moving towards disorder is actually moving towards a higher level of order. But because physicists think that there can't be anything that exists outside the parameters of measuring devices, they think that reality is moving towards chaos and disorder. But it's just that which cannot be measured, right? It's the Tao. So the yin and the yang, when they appear out of this, the yin and the yang, when they appear out of the Tao, always want to cancel each other out to get back to the Tao. So when physicists measure, they create the appearance of the yin and the yang, the positive and the negative, and then that appearance is always wanting to move back to reality. And that's what they call the second law of thermodynamics. Like, you guys, I don't know how I see this shit, but I do. And it's the most profound fucking shit ever, because it's just proving that physics is wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. The whole fucking thing is exactly the system that projects the illusion of duality. And they won't fucking listen. And they just keep going on building technology that keeps us more enslaved. Right? This is what Peter, like, I can't go crazy. I have to just kind of not give a fuck about humanity. Yeah, but temperature is just another way of measuring. It's another measurement system. And heat is just a measurement of movement, right? Heat, the hotter something is, the faster things are moving. But the Tao, there's no movement, right? So it might be what they call ultimate zero. Is that what it's called? There's a name for it. But it's like minus 273 degrees Celsius or whatever. That is probably the Tao, right? There's no movement. So it's not cold per se. It's just nothing's moving. There's no movement, which is dreamless sleep. So dreamless sleep isn't cold, right? It's just nothing's moving. There is no movement. Kelvin? Don't think of it as frozen, as cold. Just think of it as movement and no movement. Yeah, so there's Absolute zero. That's it. Absolute zero, not ultimate zero. Yeah. Um, so when Paige moved here over a year ago, she started her massage business up, and it thank the universe, it's thriving because crypto's in the shitter and I don't have a job anymore. so so she's met over 100 people, and a lot of them are regulars, right? So there's like everywhere, I believe there's a spiritual community. There's a community here that is wants to be spiritual and is quasi, like they're on the first steps, right? They're on the path. So we started holding just a meditation, 1 hour, 20-minute sessions of just stillness, and then 5-minute walking meditation in between each 20. So we have 3 sessions of 20 minutes and 2 sessions of 5 minutes in between those. And then we have discussion afterwards. And that's it. Um, and they're all female, of course, because guys, I don't know, the guys around here are just so practical. They're not really spiritually inclined. But yeah, and then there's that that one lady that's on the south side. She brings her 2 daughters, 10 and 12 or something like that. And she is like, she knows of Ramana Maharshi, she knows of Advaita Vedanta. Her parents raised her in meditation, right? So she's very advanced. But and there's still some ego there because I think she wants to be the leader. Every time her and I are meditating together in a group, it seems like she's questioning me a little bit. So anyway, it's good, but I can tell that she wants to be the teacher, even when I'm supposed to be the teacher. But it's good. We get between 3 and 5 people show up tomorrow. We'll see. So it's good because we're building community here. We have some friends on the south side that aren't exactly spiritual in a conventional way, but everyone's so grounded here that there's a natural spirituality here because everyone's so connected with nature, right? So they don't, yeah, not many people care about the science and physics aspect of it like I do, right? Especially females, just speaking bluntly and in a big way. But that doesn't matter, right? As long as so the great thing about non-conceptuality is you don't need the theory to get to the practice. You can just jump right to the practice. So that's what I'm showing them. I'm just showing them the one-step path. And I don't even care if they don't ask questions about the physics, because the physics isn't the point, right? The physics and the theory is to get to people doing the practice. So if they jump right into the practice, awesome. Yeah, so we've got a really good community of people who are like-minded, becoming self-sufficient, and they have skills that I don't, like building skills, mechanical skills, practical skills. So yeah, things are really, now that Paige got here, people know of us now because I was just hiding here in my castle by myself for 3 years, right? Not knowing anyone. So yeah, it's really good. Things are really, all we need now is for crypto to boom And then there's the financial part of it will all be settled too. Paige is helping because she holds the stillness while she massages, right? So she is working on these people at a deeper level than they even understand. But that's why she's so good. It's because she holds the stillness as best she can. Because some of them like to chit chat while they're getting massaged. But this is a healing place. This is a magical space. And I think big things are going to come from this place. Just taking a lot. It's taking longer than I thought it might. So I believe that's more accurate in urban rather than rural. So we're rural, right? There's not a dense accumulation of humans living close together, right? In a city. We're spread out. We're in nature. We deal with nature more than we do with buildings and concrete, right? We deal with nature. So things are just naturally calmer and people are happier and more content here than they are in the city because I've lived in a relatively small city, 250,000, and there's not contentment in the city like there is out here. Yeah, Zen is very much being present in this sensual experience. I lived in a city called Saskatoon in Saskatchewan, which is kind of central Canada, where it gets really freaking cold. It can get to minus 40 and be minus 40 for like days on end in Saskatoon. And it never gets to minus 40 here. It hasn't even gotten to minus 20 here all winter. So it's like paradise. And the bigger the cities are, the more condensed the human population is, the more crazy it is. Yeah, minus 40 is nasty, especially when you have to work out in it. And yeah, my first job out of high school, there weren't these hot pockets. There weren't any like things that you could put in your gloves and your boots to keep you warm. So I would work outside, 18 years old, in minus 40 some days. Yeah. So, but I'm grateful for that experience because adversity, right? People they don't know how to deal with adversity nowadays because they just get everything they want. Yeah, zero is balmy. There's no winners in that. I will. This community. So on a global scale, it looks like the United States is just going to try to control. It's almost like a risk game. They're retreating because they got too expanded and now they have to retreat and just they're going to try to control the Western Hemisphere, which is Canada, right? So the all this Venezuela, Greenland stuff is all preparing for World War III, right? So they're securing the Western Hemisphere, and they're just going to probably, the United States is just going to let Europe and Asia and all you guys battle it out, I think. So here's the conundrum for Canada, the country, the government, is are we going to stick with the European Union or are we going to stick with the United States? It's dystopian either way, but I can't believe it's so dystopian that I'm saying this. But it would be better to align with the United States and that crazy motherfucker down there than the European Union. So I don't like, again, I'm just building a big fence and I'm getting completely self sufficient off the grid, completely self sufficient, build a freaking bomb shelter, get lots of guns, and just fly under the radar as much as possible, right? Just, I do believe that this is one of the last places where things will collapse because everyone around, there's so much resources around here. There's there's berries, infinite. When the season is right, there's infinite amount of berries basically around here. There's an infinite amount of fish in these lakes around here. There's there we get deer walking through my front yard almost daily. Like, people are going to be self-sufficient and not wanting to take other people's shit here. So yeah, this is one of the best places in the world, I believe, to ride out this crazy shit. Like, people are genuinely happier here and more content and grounded in nature. Well, we've got a lot. We've got 40%. I worked in a potash mine for a while in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan has 40% of the world's potash. We have uranium. Like, yeah, Canada has a lot of what the United States need. The most important thing, yeah, so have the goal to have your basic needs be met in the less stressful way possible, and then just adhere to the spiritual practice, because that's what's going to that's liberation, is to be lucid while this nightmarish dream plays out. That's it. we've come full circle, and oh, this is crazy. But so the understanding has led to has led to, oh, how do I do this? We we've we've measured as much as we can measure, we've defined as much as we can define, and now it's being revealed through symbol itself that symbol is that which projects the illusion. So the messages that I've interpreted is the creator trying to communicate to us through symbol to break us out of the delusion that symbol itself has created. So again, humanity has it inverted. The entire evolution of human knowledge and understanding has been a system of deception and control. So that's what's been revealed through symbol, right? So it's like when Ryan was talking about finally exhausting every possibility, right? Like you finally realize, like Gödel's incompleteness theorem, this ain't going to cut it, right? So if you actually understand what the messages are telling us, the messages are telling us that we are in a delusion caused by symbol and language and knowledge. So knowledge, which is language, right, and thought, is the falsity. So we come full circle, right, to understand that our understanding is wrong. You understand that the understanding itself is false. So then you have to drop it all. And that's the one step path. See, we've traded in our happiness, our inherent happiness, for interest. That's what it is. The natural state is perfect contentment and absolute happiness. And the game is we're going to just forget that for a while so we can be interested to play the game. So you said that you used to be into the occult. What does that even mean? So if there are people planning things, those people don't even understand that they're puppets being played by Maya, right? So we can have all these grand conspiracy theories about people trying to control shit. But that doesn't get to the depth of what's really happening, right? Because those people, those egos, are also being manipulated by Maya, hidden knowledge. Okay. The occult just means hidden knowledge. Okay. But anytime you have the word knowledge in there, you have to recognize that's the falsity, right? That's trippy. So unless a system of thought transcends itself, renders itself irrelevant, then it's not the path of truth. Well, I can see how this would get into some pretty insane places, right? Oh, this is all hidden and we're the special people and let's have these special handshakes and right. So I could see how that could develop into some crazy shit, right? And there's the occult is associated, I think, with crazy shit in general. So that I think the tendency would be to get carried away again. Oh, there's this special knowledge, right? Not recognizing that it's all bullshit. Yeah, it's funny because all these egos are battling for control and power, and it's all illusory. Yeah, BlackRock is probably what's fucking up this crypto thing right now. Bitcoin should be at a half a million fucking dollars. No, I know. It's and this is why all of these paradoxes and philosophical problems still exist is because they're not going deep enough, right? Except Elon Barinholtz. Elon Barinholtz is one of the few academics that's going deep enough and revealing what symbol is, what language is, and how it actually is not relating to the realm of sensual experience. That's the problem. That's the falsity. That's the illusion, is that words are relating to this. Not just words, but then, so words is one level of abstraction, and then numbers is another step into a higher level of abstraction from that level of abstraction. And then you get to, so that's quantity, which is abstraction, right? One level of abstraction deeper or higher than words. And then when you get to the imaginary unit, which is another evolutionary step within mathematics itself into more abstract, this is why I say that the wave function is just pure thought. It's expressing concepts. So you get to levels of abstraction that now it's come full circle, I believe, right? This is where it's become full circle. And especially like string theory. Think about string theory. There's 26 dimensions in string theory. And string theory, of course, is a language, right? It's a mathematical language. So regular math has 10 characters in its language, right? To develop the entire language of math. And string theory has 26, and there's 26 characters in the English language. So I think string theory is exactly come full circle, and it's just expressing language itself. Do you understand that string theory is describing description, right? It's nothing but the functioning of language. So, Peter, I, at one point, had 3,000 ounces of silver and 1 ounce of gold. And because I was so convinced, and still am, that crypto is going to be the fastest horse in this race, that I bought most of it at like under $20. So I've been selling it and flipping it into crypto for a few years now. And now, unfortunately, but we'll see. Now I have basically 10 ounces of silver and the 1 ounce of gold left. So it's like, I could have held out a little longer, but I have sold some at this $110 an ounce. So that's this moving back into this natural, right? Like being grounded in weight, gravity, right? Back into physical objects having value, more value than concepts and two-dimensional pieces of paper with symbols on them, right? So yeah, good on you. You made good on that. That 1 ounce of gold and whatever gold that you have, hold on to it, because this year, I guarantee you. So this is what's going to happen. Here's a big prediction: is that this 2026 is the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. 250 years. On July 4th, its 250th birthday. And it'll be then that Trump will revalue gold, just like they've done in the past. And they might revalue it to $5,000, $10,000, whatever the fuck they want, because they've done it before. So hold on to that gold, because it's going to skyrocket in 2026. This is my my prediction. And silver is going to so here's my plan, is that I think that crypto is still going to go crazy this year, and I'm going to flip back into silver again. That's because you're wise, Peter. So here's what you do: if you move, right, you can't. I'm pretty sure they won't allow you to move that much precious metals out of the country if you like move, right? Like let's say just hypothetically you want to move to Canada. They probably won't allow you to carry 100 pounds of precious metals on the plane with you, right? So you might have to flip it, sell it, and flip it into crypto because, right, your keys, your crypto, you can move. Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? So you might have to flip that value of precious metals into crypto in order to take that value with you when you move. I don't know. Yeah, see, this is that lawyer, that legal stuff that's wild, right? Like, yeah, keep me updated because diplomatic immunity, does that mean that you're taking sanctuary? I don't know. Yeah. I really believe that it's just a matter of time before Cardano specifically goes to astronomical prices again. Like if it goes to $3 like it did before, I'm a millionaire again. Charles Hoskinson is special. So Charles Hoskinson is the founder of Cardano, and he was buying Bitcoin when it was like $10, and he was one of the co-founders of Ethereum, which was the second generation of crypto where you could start actually using the blockchain for purchases. Whereas, so anyway, Charles Hoskinson knew Bitcoin very, very well. And obviously, he knows Ethereum very, very well. But he recognized the limitations of Ethereum right away. So, and they weren't getting along that well. So he left and started Cardano. So, what Charles did is he recognized that the blockchain, which is an immutable truth that everyone can agree upon, right? So, think of today where there's so much deception and lying going on. What is the value of an immutable truth that everyone in the system has equal access to? Well, it's basically infinite, right? What in today's era, truth, immutable public truth that everyone has equal access to is basically infinite in value, right? So, what better system, economic system, basically, to base society on than this blockchain, which is immutable truth? Well, of course, right? So, he has thought of the biggest picture possible, right? He has developed, and his company of over 100 brilliant geniuses a system an economic system built on the blockchain, which entire society can be built upon because it's truth. So here it is. It's decentralized. So that means there's no government anymore. It's all the people, for the people, all the time. So I could go on for probably hours, and I don't even know much about it like he does, but it is the platform, the economic platform on which a true democracy can be built upon and is being built upon. It's the best crypto out there. It's got everything. None of these other cryptos have decentralization, right? It's all, most of them, all of them, except Cardano, are controlled by not a centralized group that get to decide in the end what that they can print more. You can't print more ADA, or like you can't mess with ADA. You can't mess with the Cardano blockchain. So we pushed all in on it because we think it's the best one, and it's going to be the one ring to rule them all. This is the play that we've made. And Charles himself is a good person. He even meditates. It is a very good buy right now. That's why I've sold. I had like 25 1-ounce rounds of silver left, and I just sold 20 of them a couple of days ago, and I bought ADA with it. That's true. It's not about the money, but it's easier to have your focus on spiritual practice when you don't have to worry about the money. It's true. When your basic needs are met, then you can go on and really focus on spiritual practice. So I've been offered by the universe just so much opportunity to engage in spiritual practice because I don't have a job anymore, and other than keeping this place warm and in the summer doing the wood stuff and chopping wood, carrying water, I can just sit around and be still, which is the best way to help human consciousness. There's a collective human consciousness, and the best way to help that is to hold stillness in that consciousness, right? You are part of this human consciousness. So even though it's behind the scenes, just staying still in thought-free awareness is the best way to help humanity. It doesn't seem like it because you can't see any action, but it is. It seems to be, right? Because the universe knows that the less you have to think about, the easier it is to not think about things. And I've been broke. And when you're broke, it's hard to not worry and think about other things, right? It's hard not to think about and worry when you're broke. But when you don't worry, when you have the money, then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, Monero. Yeah, yeah. So Cardano has just developed this midnight thing, which is privacy, but in levels, right? So you can choose what information you show to different people, right? So that's the final. So the blockchain, most blockchains is just everyone has equal access to everything. So companies don't want people to know how they're spending their money, right? Internally. And you don't want your information to get out. Like, you get to choose with this new midnight addition to the Cardano blockchain, you get to choose how much information you give to what people during these transactions. So it's like, yeah, it has this privacy layer now, which is huge, because big companies aren't going to use the blockchain if everyone can look at all of their financial statements, obviously. So Charles has thought of everything. And then once you become completely self-sufficient, there will be no need for money anymore, right? When you become completely self-sufficient and you don't need things to keep you happy, then you're done. And that's the goal here, is we're working towards complete self-sufficiency that doesn't require money at all, just barter between this community that we're already buying farm fresh eggs every week from this couple that have chickens, and I'm setting up a chicken run, so we're going to have chickens maybe this year. So yeah, it's the plan is coming together. It's just taking a little longer than I thought, which requires just more patience. I think it's best to put the spiritual practice in front of everything, though, because I believe that my state of being retired, and all this financial blessings basically are a result of my spiritual practice. So I think spiritual practice first, everything unfolds from that. I will never eat people. Agree that you won't eat people, or agree that spiritual practice comes first? Both. I joke about it, but this is what's going to happen, right? Society will collapse, and the food will run out in the grocery stores in these big cities. And humans will be eating humans. This will happen. I just don't know if it's in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. But what my theory is showing is that everything that's built on thought is going to collapse because it's a Ponzi. Everything that human knowledge and understanding and thought has created is the falsity. Everything that math has created is an abomination and is collapsing. Right? The financial system is completely mathematical now. And what's it doing? It's collapsing because we're not connected with nature and gravity through precious metals anymore. So the more we move into just pure thought, the more, like all the institutions, every single institution is just a system of thought. And since systems of thought itself is the falsity, then this is just a natural occurrence of an abomination of a Ponzi scheme collapsing. So this is why society is collapsing, is because it's all built on concepts, and concepts are the falsity. It's a given. Like, there's no way I can make this prediction with great sincerity, and it's going to collapse. There's no way around it. And it is collapsing now. It just takes a long time for something as big as the world economic system to collapse, right? It takes a long time. Yeah, it's like karma. Karmic debt needs to be paid, and so does financial debt. So pure liberation would be Ramana Maharshi's state, where even physical pain, right? When you're immune to physical pain, even then you're truly liberated. Oh yes, chicken out, as in cowards. Yes, I've called quite a few people cowards. So they refuse to engage in a discussion with me. 56 years, but who's counting? When you've solved the mystery, you're done. There's nothing more to do. And that's what he did. People don't like that. People resist that because everyone wants to just keep living, right? So again, inversion, everything's inverted from the human perspective. So humans want to try to live forever, which is the opposite, right? So you want to stay in the simulation. But that only generates suffering. So they take the right. So conclusion when so this is my whole theory, right, is a package deal. So if you're a materialist, like if you think that there is a nothing, right, that nothing exists, that there is such a phenomenon as non-existence, and that's the state after death is just you cease to exist. Well, that's an abomination again. It's like that's completely false. That can't happen. So if a person thinks that dreamless sleep, that death equals nothingness, so that's why we have to get rid of the word nothing. That's why we have to get rid of the concept of non-existence. It's an errant concept. And the only way to do that is to adapt the thing nothing model into the triune fundamental model of reality, blah, blah, blah. There's no such thing as non-existence. You cannot not exist. So you are already timeless. You're not immortal. You're timeless, right? So when people think conclude the game, they think that would be boring, right? They think that's nothing. Who would want to just sleep? But this it's the ego that's talking about the sleep state being nothing and boring. While you're in sleep, that's just bliss, right? You're content. Sleep is perfect contentment. So why wouldn't someone want to just abide in perfect contentment? But then this ego puts it all in time perspective, right? So there's first they think that there's time, and then there's boredom because there's time. But in a timeless state, which is dreamless sleep, there's no boredom. You're not bored in dreamless sleep. You're just perfectly fucking content. So that's the conclusion. The conclusion is perfect contentment. But that scares people because they believe science and that there's such a thing as nothing. That they right. Ah, of course. Dreamless sleep is the natural state. That's where the body goes to recuperate, right? To reset. That is dreamless sleep is the reality. And that's what's waiting for the conclusion, right? It's just so you still exist in dreamless sleep, right? So there's no such thing as nothing. Nothing is just dreamless sleep. So there's no world, but there's still self. It's so simple. Who's afraid of going to sleep? Is anyone afraid of going to sleep? So why should we be afraid of going into death? Or extinction? So there's a deeper fear. So for whatever reason, we all know we're going to die, right? Individually, we're all going to die. But if we all die at once, somehow that's more scary and avoidable than just a single person dying, right? If the entire species dies, even though that's just everyone dying, which everyone's going to do anyway, right? There's a deeper level of fear there, that's somehow a deeper level of non-existence if the entire species goes away. But you can't go away. But what I'm suggesting is an entire new way of thinking, right? It's adapting the language itself. So there's no more concept of non-existence. I'm trying to get rid of the concept of non-existence because it's an errant concept. It's a false concept. And with the way I've adapted the thing nothing language model into non-things, things, and potential, that does it. That is the rearranging of our conceptual model to get rid of the false concept of non-existence. But because of quantity, physicists need to hold on to this idea of nothing. Zero means no thing, right? So that whole thing, zero needs to, right? Zero is the mathematical symbol for non-existence. But I'm changing that to potential. So now zero can be the potential for the number system to keep going or the potential to stop, right? So the conventional zero, mathematical conventional zero, in the number system, there's no potential for ceasing, right? For conclusion, if zero is just nothing, right? So the linear zero just keeps going, right? So if that zero is now conceptualized as potential, then there's the potential to stop, right? Between each iteration, when you get to 9, there's 0 again. So that 0, instead of just being nothingness, which means that the number line just keeps going forever with no potential to stop, with my 0 being potential, there, that represents enlightenment. So I've shown this to mathematicians and philosophers, that if 0 is conceptualized as potential, then there's the potential to stop, to conclude, which offers more explanatory potential for the number system, right? Now, the number system would include consciousness. If 0 holds the potential, expresses the potential to continue or stop or conclude, then there's free will and choice in there, right? So I've just infused or shown how consciousness is being expressed in the number system. I've included consciousness now in the number system with potential instead of nothingness, right? If you guys can get this, then people can get this. It's just foreign. It's not complicated. It's just different. It's just completely novel. But this is why it's not catching on, because you see what I'm trying to change, right? I'm trying to change everything. And change is very difficult for humans. So I guess I understand why people can't come to see what I'm showing them, even though it's really obvious to me. So there's no such thing as nothing. 0 represents potential. And the infinite linear expression of the number system is actually the cyclical process of samsara. And 0 represents the potential to conclude it. right? There's no loose ends here. For those who pop in every now and then, I see the number go up. Just ask me anything because I know everything. See, I think we've been programmed to believe that truth requires complexity. Whereas I see it as complexity is an expression of incorrectness, right? Occam's razor, you gotta use Occam's razor. Whatever you understand has to be truth. Like, if you don't fully understand whatever, then that's not a truth for you. That is a belief, right? You believe it to be true because you actually don't fully understand it. But lots of other people are telling you that this is the way it is and that they understand it, right? But when you press them on, especially something like the imaginary unit, try to get someone to explain to you what that really is, not from backwards, not from, oh, here's the math, and then you work your way back to the imaginary unit. No, explain to me how it came to be, not retrocausal, not reverse engineering it, right? How did it come to be? Explain to me mathematically how the imaginary unit works, how it came to be, and they won't be able to explain it. They'll just try to use the math, the Frankenstein math that makes it possible to justify the fiat declaration that it is. It's not generated by math. The imaginary unit is not mathematical in nature. It's a fiat declaration. And then it's this super concept that forces the mathematician and physicist to hold a super concept in their head that's both positive and negative simultaneously. So I is always multiplying by itself. It's never in isolation. I is always interacting with itself, and both of those eyes that are squaring each other, both of them, not one is positive and one is negative, both of the eyes, same symbol, both of them are equally positive and negative. So it's not that one's positive and one's negative. Both of them are abstractly, indeterminately positive and negative. But as soon as the mathematics is implemented, the math starts working, the mathematician has to declare which one is which, right? So there's where the consciousness and the choice of of a human consciousness enters quantum mechanics, is because the abstract nature of it becomes determinant, hello, collapse of the wave function, when the mathematician rigorously assigns, okay, well, this is the positive, so this one automatically becomes the negative. But until that happens, they're both positive and negative. And then you hold that, yeah, that right? That's one eye. Here's one eye, but they're never in isolation. They're always eye is always multiplying itself. You see what I mean, right? It's a black box that no one wants to look at. It's the emperor. The whole empire is naked, and no one wants to look. I have correctly interpreted quantum mechanics, and it's way simpler. It's so the irony is divine, right? It's divine irony is that this whole time it's been nothing but I. That the findings of quantum mechanics has been nothing other than the functioning of I in the consciousness of the physicists. And what's entangled is the consciousness of the physicist and the detecting device. I understand all of it. No one understands quantum mechanics because no one really understands I, because I, the imaginary unit, is inconceivable. It's a super concept. It's two concepts. It splits awareness. It forces awareness into a state that's completely abstract and arbitrary, and yet they try to fit that abstraction into actual experience. And that's why every time quantum mechanics looks at reality, it sees it in dualistic bifurcation because that's they're looking at it through this super concept of the imaginary unit, which is basically a beam splitter. And again, the irony of it is that the imaginary unit is lowercase I, for fuck's sakes, right? What is the source of the I? So again, I had Chatty put the imaginary unit in my fundamental model of reality. So I is basically, so this is what I is. This is what the imaginary unit is. It's trying to conceptualize the Tao, right? So if you see it, you put the imaginary unit in the middle column of the fMOR. So they're trying to conceptualize the Tao. You see? And you can't. Right? That's what I is. I is basically a symbol for God. It is because it contains both the positive and the negative simultaneously. But the problem is that they have I interacting with itself, right? I squared equals some fucking thing, right? So it takes two. See, again, it's all bifurcation, right? It's just all bifurcation. See, Peter, I'm so glad that. So yeah, when I explain this to just non-physicist people, intelligent people, they come to see what I'm saying. So if average people ordinary people can understand what I'm talking about in regards to the imaginary unit and why quantum mechanics shows these weird results that it does, then that's it. Right? If you can understand it, then it's a truth for you. And if you don't understand it, then it's a belief. And I guarantee you, not one mathematician understands the imaginary unit. They just believe. It's just a belief. It's an agreed upon fiat declaration that everyone just has agreed to go along with to play their little fucking game, to keep making their little designs. Yes. So this again, everything, I don't think I'm just doing this. I think everything proves my theory is that they're moving deeper into delusion, right? So they've been so programmed to accept what quantum mechanics is that it's like a cult member. You're trying to show you, like, listen, this Scientology stuff is nonsense, right? And I'll show them all the information, all the proof that shows that this is all nonsense. But because the training and brainwashing has been so effective that the cult member doesn't see it, right? They just want to stay in their cult because they're having so much fun. That's true. Yeah, there's always anomalies, I guess. But this is my life, right? Like, I don't have a job. I don't think I don't have a family really. I don't have really much friends. I don't really do much. I'm always just when I do think, it's laser focused on this reality stuff. Ugh, it's surreal. It's surreal to understand reality at this level and then showing it to people who are reality theorists and then just have them not even engage in conversation, right? Like how else if we do go into World War III and end up blowing up everything in nuclear winter and let's say only a dozen of the nuclear 450 nuclear power plants on the planet, let's say only a dozen of them melt down. Well, how the fuck did we get to this place, right? How did we get to this insanity that we're in? How deep does it go? Well, I'm showing everyone how fucking deep it goes. It's because we've followed science. That's how deep it is. We've followed thought, and thought is wrong. That's how fucking deep it is. I know, I know. And do you know how many of these guys that talk about this stuff, right? Deep, deep stuff. How many of these YouTubers I've contacted with this information? And none of them want to interview me. It's so bizarre. It's like Kurt Jamungal, just on Substack, he had a few months ago, he interviewed this guy who's just a guy that has this kind of weird theory about the Bible and stuff, and it's kind of incongruent and doesn't make much sense. It's not like Kurt to have someone like that on there, and yet he won't have me. Like this guy's talking about the Bible and Adam and Eve and metaphors and analogies with the Bible and stuff, but it's kind of incongruent. In I, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's very so. I just don't understand, right? It's like, why would he have someone that's unconventionally not in the physics realm, right? Not a conventional scientist. Why would you have this guy on talking kind of nonsense? Whereas I have the complete narrative. It all makes fucking sense. It makes sense to you guys, like the 5 people that follow me. It makes sense to them. So they understand quantum mechanics. So you guys, if you understand what I'm saying, like you can't, what I'm saying is you can't understand explicitly the imaginary unit. You can't. It's not possible. But if you understand that what I'm saying about it, then you and how it produces the illusion that it does of duality everywhere it looks, then you understand quantum mechanics at a level that no one in history ever has. Do you guys realize this, right? Like you may not find it that interesting or that important, and that's fine. But if you understand what I'm saying about this, about the imaginary unit and how it is quantum mechanics, then you understand something that no one has in a century. The most brilliant minds programmed, right? Deeply, deeply programmed and trained physicists and mathematicians that have been struggling with trying to interpret why quantum mechanics produces these weird results. You guys know this now. I hope you get something from this, because it's huge, right? You understand something that basically no humans ever have in a century of trying to figure this shit out, because you've gone to the depths that's required to try to understand what the fuck the imaginary unit is. And it's a super concept that just fucks with a person's consciousness, divides it. Everywhere it looks, it sees duality and bifurcation. And that's why the multiverse is absolutely insane. Who in their right mind would even consider the multiverse to be legitimate? And yet we do, right? And it's being programmed into our heads through movies. All these movies where there's this multiverse, it's nonsense. It's part of the programming. I want to. Bring me your best and your brightest. Michio Kaku, fucking Brian Greene. I don't give a fuck who it is. Roger Penrose. Roger, I've completed your triangle. I can explain why your triangle doesn't work, because you haven't plugged it into the FMOR, right? So bring me the top guys. I'll take them all on. The irony of it is that I've come across so much arrogance, right? And it's, once they see it, they'll just be so shamed. Like it's the irony of it from my perspective is just gorgeous, right? They are being arrogant and telling me that I'm ridiculous, right? That all I'm saying is nonsense, that I'm an idiot, or that I have psychological problems. And it's like, you poor guys, right? Again, it's the cult member. It's like looking at Tom Cruise talk about Scientology. It's like, oh, you poor kid. And that's how I feel about these brilliant physicists that are arrogant and just ignore me. It's like, you poor kid. You don't see. And I could probably beat most of them in a boxing match too. So just gotta have a little humor. think I'll probably conclude, speaking of conclusion, at 11 my time, so like 5 more minutes. It's a gorgeous day here. We'll probably go snowshoeing later. Yeah, it does, but not nearly what it takes to try to understand physics and quantum mechanics and esoteric mathematics, right? So if I believe if your average intelligent person just read my stuff exclusively, like take it as a course in school, right? You devote a few months of just really exclusively diving into my work and only that, and assuming it's correct, right? Instead of assuming that it's wrong and trying to understand it rather than trying to pick it apart. Because if you try to pick something apart, you will. If you don't want to see something, you will not see it, no matter how obvious it is. So, what's simpler to understand? Quantum mechanics, the way that the conventional path to trying to understand it, or my path. Again, if you understand it, then it's a truth to you. And if you don't fully understand it, then it's a belief. And quantum theorists are acting on a belief because they don't know what imaginary unit is. So again, it's not a truth for you unless you understand the whole thing. And what I'm saying is that my theory, the whole thing, is completely understandable by your average person. The complexity is in the unwinding of the falsity, right? So while all this false bullshit mathematical physics stuff is being revealed as false, the unwinding of all that falsity, the whole Ponzi scheme of falsity, when that is being revealed, that's complex. So it's not my theory that's complex. My theory is simple, and it's revealing the complexity that is the falsity of the conventional mathematics and physics. All of this to me is completely reasonable, right? Your own ability, intrinsic ability to reason, is greater than what you're taught and what you're taught to believe and accept. You have the ability of discernment. We need to gain that back. You can't assume that anything you've been taught is true unless you absolutely, completely believe everywhere that it leads. All the loose ends need to be tied up. And in physics and science and math, there's loose ends everywhere. There's hardly any fabric there at all. It's all just fucking frayed threads. So someone that's saying that they understand all this, right, is the whole narrative, everything, it understands all. Either they're crazy or they're right. All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys showing up because this this is very important to me. This really, I feel like even if there's just a few people here, if you guys are getting this and it's getting deeper and the understanding is getting more, more deeper and more, you're more sure of it, then that's what matters. So thank you guys for showing up all the time. If I didn't have you guys, I think this would all just fade, right? It wouldn't. It's you guys are keeping this alive, and I appreciate it. All right, we'll see you next Saturday, right? Okay. Hold to the practice.